Welcome to this presentation on combining calm and drive for better focus. Today we are looking at two popular non-stimulant focus ingredients, L-Tyrosine and L-Theanine. The big idea is simple: can one ingredient support motivation and stress resilience, while the other helps smooth stress perception and promote calm alertness? This is a compelling concept, especially for lifters, students, tactical professionals, and anyone who wants focus without relying heavily on caffeine. But the key question is whether this stack is actually evidence-based or mostly marketing. In this presentation, we will break down what focus really involves, how L-tyrosine and L-theanine work, what the evidence says about each ingredient, and where the combination might make sense. We will also be clear about limitations, because a stack can sound logical on paper and still lack direct proof. The goal is serious focus without hype, proprietary blends, or exaggerated claims. This slide introduces the central idea behind the stack. On one side, we have relaxation, which is where L-theanine comes in. On the other side, we have motivation, which is where L-tyrosine is often positioned. L-tyrosine supplies the raw material needed to produce catecholamines like dopamine and norepinephrine, which are connected to drive, alertness, motivation, and stress response. L-theanine, by contrast, is known for promoting a calmer mental state and reducing perceived stress. The theory is that tyrosine helps maintain drive when your nervous system is under pressure, while theanine smooths the edges so the experience feels more controlled. That combination sounds attractive because most people do not want chaotic stimulation, they want calm focus. But at this point, we should treat the stack as a hypothesis. The ingredients each have a rationale, yet the combination needs to be evaluated honestly. The question is not just whether the idea sounds good. The question is whether it actually improves focus in a measurable way. This slide sets up a very important distinction. Supplement marketing often implies that combining 2 or 3 ingredients automatically creates synergy. The myth is that every stack produces limitless focus, sharper thinking, more energy, and better performance. The fact is that mechanistic logic is not the same as proof. Just because one ingredient supports catecholamine production and another promotes relaxation does not mean the combination creates a guaranteed focus upgrade. Evidence matters. We need human studies, clear outcomes, appropriate doses, and realistic context. This is especially important for focus supplements, because focus is often used vaguely. Someone might feel calmer or more motivated, but that does not necessarily mean their reaction accuracy, working memory, or decision-making improves. This presentation will investigate what the science says about L-tyrosine, L-theanine, and the proposed combination. The goal is to avoid hype while still recognizing where the stack might be useful. Focus is not one single thing. It includes alertness, which is the ability to stay awake and responsive. It includes calmness, because high stress can impair attention and decision-making. It includes motivation, which helps you initiate effort and keep pushing when a task becomes difficult. It includes working memory, which is your ability to hold and manipulate information in your mind. It also includes stress control, because pressure, fatigue, and emotional arousal can disrupt performance. Finally, focus involves reaction accuracy, meaning it is not enough to respond quickly. You also need to respond correctly. This matters because different ingredients may influence different parts of focus. Caffeine might strongly increase alertness. L-tyrosine may be more relevant when stress threatens working memory. L-theanine may help with calmness and perceived stress. When evaluating a focus stack, we need to ask which part of focus is being targeted and whether the evidence supports that specific outcome. This slide is a reality check. Feeling calm can be useful, especially if stress is making you feel overwhelmed or scattered. But relaxation by itself does not automatically improve cognitive performance. A supplement might reduce perceived stress without improving reaction accuracy, working memory, motivation, or task performance. This is especially relevant for L-theanine. It has a reputation for promoting calm alertness, but the cognitive performance data are much more mixed than the relaxation data. In other words, you might feel smoother or less stressed, yet still not perform better on a test of attention or reaction time. This distinction is crucial when evaluating any calm focus product. We should not confuse a better subjective state with objective improvement. The best evidence-based approach is to separate how an ingredient makes you feel from what it actually helps you do. Before we discuss the ingredients, this slide explains how we will interpret evidence. A supportant mechanism means there is a strong biological rationale. For example, we know that L-tyrosine is a precursor to catecholamines, and we know L-theanine influences neurotransmitter systems related to calmness. Promising evidence means human data show benefits under specific conditions, but those benefits may not apply to everyone or every context. Mixed evidence means results are inconsistent or depend heavily on dose, timing, and the task being measured. Limited evidence means there are too few studies or the studies are inconclusive. Speculative evidence means the claim is mostly theoretical or marketing driven. This tier system keeps us honest. It prevents us from treating every claim equally. When we evaluate L-Tyrosine, L-Theanine, and the combination, we will ask whether the evidence is supported, promising, mixed, limited, or speculative. L-tyrosine is a non-essential amino acid found in protein-rich foods and sold as a supplement. It is important because it acts as a precursor to catecholamines including dopamine, norepinephrine, and epinephrine. These chemicals help regulate motivation, alertness, attention, and the stress response. This is why tyrosine is often positioned as the drive side of the stack. However, it is important to understand that tyrosine is not caffeine. It does not directly stimulate your nervous system in the same obvious way. Instead, it supplies raw material that may matter when catecholamine demand is high. That means tyrosine is most interesting in stressful contexts such as sleep loss, cold exposure, high workload, or tactical pressure. If you are well rested, well fed, and doing an ordinary low stress task, extra tyrosine may feel subtle or may do very little. It is a context tool, not a universal energy booster. This slide shows the biochemical pathway from tyrosine to catecholamines. Tyrosine is converted into L-Dopa, which is then converted into dopamine. Dopamine can then be converted into norepinephrine, and norepinephrine can be converted into epinephrine. These compounds support alertness, motivation, working memory, attention, and the ability to respond to stress. This pathway explains why tyrosine is attractive as a focus ingredient. If stress increases catecholamine turnover, then supplying more precursor could theoretically help the body maintain neurotransmitter production. But again, the key word is theoretically. The pathway is real, but the body regulates neurotransmitter synthesis tightly. More precursor does not automatically mean unlimited dopamine or norepinephrine. The usefulness of tyrosine depends on whether catecholamine availability is actually a bottleneck. That is why tyrosine tends to look more promising under acute stress than in relaxed, ordinary conditions. L-tyrosine becomes most relevant when stress increases the demand for catecholamines. This can happen during acute stress or shock, when the nervous system is working harder to maintain attention and response control. It can happen in cold exposure, where thermoregulatory stress places additional strain on the body and brain. It can happen with sleep loss, where vigilance declines and reaction lapses become more common. It can also happen during high cognitive load, such as multitasking, decision-heavy work, or long periods of intense focus. The slide also reminds us that tyrosine is not caffeine. It will not reliably create a stimulant kick for everyone. Its most realistic role is helping preserve cognition when stress threatens performance. This distinction matters for marketing. If a product sells tyrosine as a daily buzz ingredient, that is probably overstating the evidence. If it frames tyrosine as stress support, that is closer to what the research suggests. This slide summarizes the evidence for L-tyrosine. The mechanism is well supported because tyrosine is clearly a precursor to catecholamines. The evidence is promising for improving working memory and attention under acute stress, especially when catecholamine stores may be taxed. That means situations like sleep deprivation, cold exposure, military-style stress, or intense cognitive workload are the most relevant. However, the evidence is mixed for low-stress daily use and general exercise. If someone is simply doing an ordinary gym session after a good night of sleep, tyrosine may not provide a noticeable benefit. Long-term data on safety and performance are also limited. The best way to interpret tyrosine is as a stress-specific tool. It may be useful when the nervous system is under load, but it is not a reliable all-purpose focus enhancer. L-theanine is a unique amino acid found primarily in tea. It is widely known for promoting calm alertness and relaxation. In supplement form, it is commonly dosed at 100 to 200 milligrams, although some studies use higher amounts. Theanine is not a stimulant and it does not create the same immediate energy surge as caffeine. Instead, its appeal is that it can help smooth stress perception and make the mental state feel more relaxed without necessarily causing sedation. This makes it attractive for people who want focus without jitteriness. However, just like with tyrosine, the key is to stay realistic. Theanine's strongest evidence is around relaxation and stress reduction, not major cognitive performance enhancement. It may make the experience of focusing feel better, but that is not always the same as producing faster or more accurate cognitive output. L-theanine appears to work through several nervous system pathways. One mechanism involves glutamate modulation. Theanine may interact with glutamate-related receptors, including the NMDA glycine site and AMPA or kainate receptors. This may help explain its calming effects without strong sedation. Theanine is also associated with increases in alpha brainwave activity, which is often linked with relaxed attention. That means a person may feel calm, but still mentally engaged. It may also influence GABAergic activity in stress pathways, potentially reducing the intensity of stress responses. These mechanisms are the reason theanine is marketed as a calm focus ingredient. But as with all supplements, mechanisms do not guarantee outcomes. A calmer brain state does not automatically mean better working memory, reaction time, or motivation. The evidence needs to be evaluated by outcome. The evidence for L-theanine is strongest around its mechanism and subjective relaxation effects. It influences neurotransmitter systems and alpha brainwaves, which gives it a supported biological rationale. Human studies suggest that it can reduce perceived stress and promote relaxation, so this is a promising area. However, cognitive performance findings are mixed. Some studies show small benefits in specific tasks, especially at higher doses or when paired with caffeine, but the results are not consistently strong when theanine is used alone. Long-term evidence on cognition and performance is also limited. The best way to describe theanine is as a calm supporting ingredient. It may be useful for smoothing stress or reducing the edgy feeling that comes from pressure or stimulants. But if the goal is major reaction time improvement or athletic performance enhancement, the evidence is not strong enough to make that claim confidently. In practice, L-theanine is usually used at 100 to 200 milligrams per serving. Some trials have tested higher doses up to 500 milligrams, especially for stress or relaxation outcomes. The most reliable effects are in the area of relaxation and calm alertness. Cognitive benefits remain inconsistent. Some people notice smoother focus, less stress, or a more balanced mental state. Others may not notice much at all. This is why dose, timing, and individual response matter. If someone wants to test theanine, they should start within the typical dose range and evaluate how it affects stress, focus, and sleep. Theanine is often well tolerated, but it should still be treated like any other active supplement. A key practical point is that theanine may be more valuable when stress or stimulation needs smoothing, rather than when you are looking for raw drive. This slide explains the logic behind combining the two ingredients. L-Tyrosine is positioned as the drive component because it supports catecholamine production under stress. L-Theanine is positioned as a calm component because it may reduce perceived stress and promote relaxed attention. Together, the idea is calm focus. In theory, tyrosine helps maintain motivation and working memory when stress increases catecholamine demand, while theanine helps reduce the rough edges of stress and tension. This is a clean concept for people who want focus without relying on heavy stimulants. However, this is still a mechanistic hypothesis. There is no strong body of research directly testing tyrosine and theanine together as a stack. So we can say the stack is logically constructed, but we cannot say it is proven. Users should treat it as an experimental, context-dependent strategy rather than a guaranteed focus upgrade. This slide reinforces one of the most important principles in supplement evaluation. The mechanism is appealing. Tyrosine may support dopamine and norepinephrine production, which could help with drive, while theanine may influence GABA and glutamate systems, helping with calmness. But evidence requires more than plausible pathways. Tyrosine has data supporting working memory and attention under stress. Theanine has data supporting relaxation and reductions in perceived stress, with mixed effects on reaction time and other cognitive measures. The combination, however, has very little direct research. That means synergy claims remain speculative. A supplement company might say the stack combines drive and calm, but until controlled studies test that combination, we should be careful. Mechanistic logic can help generate a hypothesis, but it cannot substitute for human outcome data. This slide discusses a recent stress drill study that compared L-tyrosine and L-theanine under a high-stress scenario. This study used a virtual reality active shooter drill with 80 subjects. Participants received either a placebo, 2 grams of L-tyrosine, or 200 milligrams of L-theanine. The outcome was interesting. Tyrosine improved stress drop accuracy, suggesting better response control under stress, while neither ingredient changed stress biomarkers. This supports the idea that tyrosine may help preserve cognitive performance when stress is high. However, the study compared the ingredients separately. It did not test the tyrosine and theanine combination. That distinction is critical. We cannot use this study to claim the stack works. We can only say that tyrosine showed a specific cognitive benefit in a stressful context, while theanine did not produce the same effect in that study. The strongest case for tyrosine is acute stress support. Studies suggest that tyrosine can help with working memory, attention, and response inhibition in young adults facing demanding conditions. These effects are most apparent when catecholamine stores are taxed, such as during sleep deprivation, cold exposure, multitasking, or operational stress. That pattern fits the mechanistic model. When the brain is under pressure and catecholamine demand rises, additional precursor may help preserve function. But tyrosine appears far less impressive during everyday low-stress tasks. It also has minimal evidence as an exercise performance enhancer. This means tyrosine is not a universal pre-workout focus ingredient. It is better understood as a targeted stress resilience tool. If stress is the bottleneck, tyrosine may help. If stress is not the bottleneck, the effect may be subtle or absent. Theanine's strongest evidence is in relaxation and stress outcomes. It can increase alpha wave activity and reduce perceived stress, and it appears safe across a broad range of doses used in research. However, evidence for cognitive enhancement is limited. Some trials show small improvements in tasks like rapid visual information processing at higher doses, but the effects are not consistent enough to call theanine a strong standalone. Nootropic theanine may pair well with caffeine in some studies, helping improve attention while smoothing jitteriness, but that is outside the scope of this tyrosine and theanine stack. For this presentation, the key takeaway is that theanine may help you feel calmer and less stressed, but it is not a guaranteed focus amplifier. Its value is more about mental state than raw cognitive performance. This slide is the honest conclusion about the actual stack. There are no robust trials evaluating L-Tyrosine and L-Theanine together. That means we cannot confidently claim that the combination improves focus, reaction accuracy, or working memory beyond what each ingredient might do separately. Existing studies mostly compare them separately. Tyrosine has shown promise in certain stress contexts, while theanine is better supported for relaxation and perceived stress reduction. The synergy claim is therefore speculative. It is mechanistically logical, but mechanism alone does not guarantee additive effects. This does not mean the stack is useless. It means expectations should be grounded. If someone chooses to try it, they should view it as a reasonable experiment for stress-heavy work or training, not as a proven replacement for sleep, nutrition, caffeine, or evidence-backed performance tools. This slide summarizes the evidence across tyrosine, theanine, and the combination. Both tyrosine and theanine have supported mechanisms. Tyrosine is promising under stress and mixed in low-stress settings. Theanine is promising for relaxation and mixed in for cognitive performance. Both have areas where evidence remains limited, especially for long-term outcomes and athletic performance. The combination has a supported theoretical mechanism because the ingredients target different aspects of focus, but direct synergy evidence is speculative. This overview is important because it prevents overclaiming. A stack may be built from two reasonable ingredients and still lack direct proof. The strongest statement we can make is that the combination is plausible and may be worth testing in the right context, but it is not proven to create superior focus. The stack makes the most sense when stress threatens performance. Examples include high-stress professions such as emergency response, military drills, tactical training, or other situations where calm decision-making matters. It may also make sense during long focus sessions such as extended study, coding, or research work, especially when mental fatigue builds. Sleep restriction is another potential context, such as shift work, jet lag, or overnight duties, where tyrosine may help preserve catecholamine-driven cognition while theanine may help manage stress perception. It may also appeal to people who want non-caffeine focus because they are sensitive to jitters or stimulants. For pre-workout use, this stack may help with mental readiness and calm drive rather than raw energy. The key is context. It is most relevant when you need focus under pressure, not when you simply want a stimulant kick. This slide helps prevent overuse. If the task is low stress, such as typing routine emails or doing simple chores, the stack is probably unnecessary. If you're expecting a caffeine-like energy surge, you may be disappointed because neither tyrosine nor theanine works like caffeine. If your goal is pure strength, hypertrophy, or maximum power output, this stack does not directly increase muscle growth or force production. And if you're trying to self-treat clinical conditions like anxiety, depression, ADHD, or chronic fatigue, this is not a substitute for professional care. The stack should not be used as a universal solution. It is best viewed as a context-specific focus tool, especially for stress-driven cognitive demands. Knowing when not to use it is just as important as knowing when it might be useful. Dosing matters, and this slide highlights the gap between research and many commercial formulas. L-tyrosine is often used in ranges from 500 milligrams to 2 grams, with high-stress studies commonly using around 2 grams. Many pre-workouts underdose tyrosine, using less than 1 gram or hiding it inside proprietary blends. If the amount is hidden, you cannot compare it to the research. L-theanine is typically dosed at 100 to 200 milligrams, although some trials use up to 500 milligrams. The key practical advice is to look for transparent labels with exact ingredient amounts. Avoid hidden focus blends and vague formulas. If a product claims stress resilience or calm focus but uses tiny doses, it may be more label decoration than functional support. Serious users should demand transparency. L-tyrosine is generally well tolerated for many people, but it still deserves caution. The first rule is to start with a single ingredient when possible so you can assess tolerance before combining it with other compounds. Tyrosine may interact with thyroid medications or L-Dopa used in Parkinson's treatment because it is involved in related biochemical pathways. It may also be problematic with monoamine oxidase inhibitors, especially because of potential effects on blood pressure and catecholamine metabolism. If someone is hypertensive or using stimulants, caution is warranted. Pregnant or nursing individuals or anyone on medication should consult a healthcare professional before use. The broader message is that tyrosine is not just a harmless focus powder. It is an amino acid with biological activity, and context matters. L-theanine is generally well tolerated in research at doses ranging from 50 to 500 milligrams. Still, it can influence relaxation and blood pressure. So some users should be careful. People who are hypotensive or taking antihypertensive medication should monitor blood pressure because theanine may lower it further in some cases. Theanine may also enhance the sedative effects of alcohol or sedating medications, so those combinations should be avoided unless medically cleared. As with tyrosine, pregnant or nursing individuals and anyone using medications should consult a healthcare professional before supplementing. Theanine's safety profile is favorable, but generally well tolerated does not mean no precautions needed. Responsible use means matching the dose and context to the individual. The final verdict is balanced. Tyrosine is a stress-supporting focus tool. It is most useful when catecholamine stores are taxed by stress, fatigue, cold, multitasking, or pressure. Theanine is a calm-supporting tool. It can reduce perceived stress and promote relaxation, but it does not provide strong cognitive gains by itself. The combination is mechanistically logical because one supports drive while the other supports calmness. However, direct evidence for synergy is limited and speculative. The most realistic way to use a stack is with modest expectations. It may support calm focus under stress, but it is not a limitless focus formula. It should be paired with the fundamentals: sleep, nutrition, training, hydration, and smart workload management. Supplements can support performance, but they cannot replace the basics. This closing slide brings the message back to the values of evidence-based supplementation. The stack should be presented without exaggerated claims, hidden proprietary blends, or hype-driven marketing. Transparent dosages matter because without them, you cannot compare a product to the research. This stack may appeal to serious lifters, high performers, students, and professionals who want focused support without relying heavily on stimulants. But the right stance is science first and hype free. Make informed choices, demand proof. Ask whether the ingredient dose matches the research, whether the context fits the evidence, and whether the product is transparent. Calm and drive can be a useful concept, but it should be treated as a thoughtful, context-dependent tool rather than a magic solution.